So, as you may be aware, I have a new song out, Satellite. So before I get on with this video, please go and check out the link in the description and please go and have a listen. It's on Spotify and all the other major platforms at the moment, and I appreciate every person who's heard it so far. Thank you so much. Thank you again a million times to Felicia, who sang on this track and made everything about it possible. So what am I here to talk about today? It's a very quick video and it's something that is really getting on my nerves. It's YouTube. I don't blame the people who are on it. I mean, I'm using it obviously to promote my own stuff. What I'm finding though is that there's a lot of stuff on there convincing us to buy new tech. And I don't recommend you look at new tech with quite the same way that a lot of other people do. The reason that I suggest you think about it first is you could spend a lot of money in places that you don't want to spend it. And I've seen a lot of people, and I'm going to bring into this big major producers, okay, who some of them actually surprise me that they're using their clout and their leverage to convince people that it's worth spending your money in places that I don't think it's worth spending your money in. What do I mean? I'm going to talk specifically about my Amphian speakers. Now, I'm not saying Amphian are the only speakers. I'm a massive Amphian fan, which you'll probably pick up on over the next year or so. But I'm talking about that caliber of speaker. So you have what I call the really cheap prosumer stuff, which is sort of like your £100, £200, £300 speakers, the sort of KRK Rocket series, for example, which are, they sound all right, but the bass end is useless in my opinion. They are fancy hi-fi speakers, if you like. They sound nice, but they're not mixing speakers. You can produce, which by producing, I'm talking more about gathering the elements of a song together and creating something with it. Now that sounds like a kind of an artistic role. The producer's role is more so to guide the artists into creating their final product. If you're doing both, you're the artist and the producer, you are kind of essentially overseeing your own work. The mix engineer's job is to then take those elements and make them work together. Now, if you have a decent set of speakers, it makes it so much easier to do that as a whole. And that's where I do love the Amphians. They allow you to consider what aspects you're putting into your arrangement and how your instruments are fitting together before you even come to the mix stage, which makes your job then as a mixing engineer even more easier to pull off. So the Amphians are regarded as quite a pricier sell to many musicians, but hear me out here for a second, because if you're not going to go and jump up to the sort of prices where I think the cheapest thing where you're going to get anything really good, and I had a bit of a discussion with somebody else on one of the YouTube videos recently when I talked about beryllium tweeters, and he said, oh, I've never even heard of beryllium tweeters, which are a focal tweeter, which are on their speakers, on their higher end stuff. It kind of made me laugh that the argument was about this particular fact, because I will say straight out that I believe that you can spend £200, £300, £400, £500 on some speakers. I would say the Yamaha HS8s, HS7s, for example, are a good starting speaker to get going with. There's lots of discussions then about the Calis, and there'll be Presonus and all these others. I'll be honest with you, they all kind of sound the same. Probably the Yamahas have got the slight edge, but they're by no means going to get you up to the level where you can seriously start mixing on them, to the point where you don't need to still have a mastering engineer oversee a chunk of decision makings on that. Now, obviously, having a treated room behind me, the green paneling system that you see here is actually a bunch of Rockwool IKEA panels all filled out. I admit it's not the tidiest at the moment, but it certainly, because the sound tends to bounce back and forth, just by having something like this on the walls really helps. But the Amphians took my mixing up to an entirely new level. Before that, I was listening to Focal Shapes, And I just don't get them. They sound lush, don't get me wrong. I put them out here. I was listening to films with Ellie and stuff every night, and we were like, wow, the 3D sounds amazing. They are great speakers, all right? But there's no way I could mix on them very well. The mixes I was doing on the focal shapes I'd take to the car, gone. The translation wasn't there. So what did I do? I listened to a few other speakers as well. I even considered the Focal 6B, and there's the Focal Twins and some of the others with the beryllium tweeters, and I'm sure they would have been very good. But KMR, and I'm not sponsored. I will not be sponsored. Certainly haven't. If I ever become sponsored, I would definitely be very clear about it in my videos. And I don't think that Focal necessarily sponsor very many people. Sorry, not Focal. Amphi, I don't think they sponsor a lot of people. The reason I got these Amphians, I got some ex-demo with a massive chunk of cash off of them. Okay, they come in a really gorgeous box. And I just wanted to try them out because I'd read so many great things about them, and that they work in small rooms, which is ideal in a home studio. And I had listened to these things and I could just hear everything. And immediately I remixed about 3 or 4 tracks, took them out to the car, and I was like, I need these. I really do need them. Now, admittedly, paired with the Amphian monitor system, paired with the Amphian amplifier, they become incredibly expensive. But here's a little bit of a secret. The difference in amplifiers is minute compared to the actual sound coming out of speakers. Think about it. Provided you get a fairly neutral amplifier, you're just talking about sending a voltage to the speakers. Over here, I have a Behringer A800, which was talked about quite a lot on the forums. I decided to give it a go. I compared it to another amplifier I had at the time. There was a subtle difference, but there wasn't really enough to justify spending like 700 or 800 plus pounds on an amplification system when this one here, which costs like a couple of £100, is powering these speakers with no issues. You don't have to drive them hard in a room this size as well. So this amplifier can cope. These speakers, I think they're rated, these are the 118 Amphians. They're rated to be about 200 watts a side. I think it's something like that maximum. I cannot remember what the A800 is, but it covers that and more. So, you know, it's absolutely fine for driving them. And I don't have any issues with it. But the reason I've talked about these speakers is because not only do I love them, and when I say love them, I think I'd find it hard to mix on anything else now I've heard them. And if I wanted to go into a serious mastering environment, I would probably still carry these in with me and just go and get something a bit bigger and a bit more low end. You can get the 218s, which are the slightly bigger version of the Amphians, and some subs. But honestly, I can chuck on my headphones to check the subs. Typical, just as I was in the middle of recording, I ran out of space on my phone. So I hope you found this video useful. I hope that you've picked up on the fact that I love these speakers. The point I'm trying to make is basically focus on your speakers first and your room. And don't worry about the plugins. You can do everything with Logic stock plugins. I can make decisions on these where the stock EQ plugin just requires a slight cut or boost of a decibel, if that. I took off EQs that were all over the place trying to guess where I was trying to make decisions before on the Yamaha the Yamaha HS8s. And they are great speakers for producing on. I could not do the things I do on these. Many producers will really big up the cheaper stuff. I have to question it. I have to question a lot of what's being said on YouTube at the moment. I'm looking at stuff, I'm then trying it and finding that it doesn't match up to what people are saying. There are some great guys out there who are beginning to question the companies around all this as well. For example, Paul Third, I'm a big fan of his channel. he admits openly that he is no big producer. But the problem, this whole big producer thing, oh, well, look at who they've worked with. But they're milking it. They're going out there and they're promoting stuff that's, quite frankly, crap, some of it, you know. And it's not just music, it's all sorts of things, photography, everything. You can't trust what people are telling you on YouTube, which is ironic given the fact that I'm on here. But I'm trying to be one of the ones that sort of shout back and say, well, I hope you can at least take my information. I'm not selling the Amphians to you. I'm telling you to look at the top end stuff or just go with the bottom end stuff. Don't waste your money on some of these esoteric prosumer hi-fi systems, the Adams and the Eves and stuff like that. They're nice systems, and I don't blame a lot of people for getting them. They're pretty good, some of the top end things, but they're not going to take you up to the level where you can mix like you can on something like the Amphians or the top of the line focals. Okay, again, focal shapes, they're great to listen to, but you compare them to something like the focal sort of Twin Bs or whatever, and they just don't match up, because the Twin Bs, they have the beryllium tweeters in them that give you something special. And you can go up to some of the alternative options up in that range as well. Have a listen to some of their head audio stuff, for example. I haven't had a chance to listen to everything up there. I just knew that the Amphians did what I wanted to do. So please bear it in mind. If you like what you're listening to, please subscribe. Also, please check out Satellite again. And I really hope that this has been informative for some of you who are really struggling to try and figure it out. Either spend little or save all your plug-in money and buy some big stuff. I really wish that's what I'd done. Catch you all later, and thank you very much for watching.